Fight fans, welcome back to Mindful Combat. If this is the first time you checked out any of my content, or perhaps you've checked out some of my content and you just haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Help me get this platform as big as possible so I can speak to as many few fight fans as possible. The more people I can speak with, the better. So this is a video that I hadn't anticipated I was going to make. Actually, if this is the first time you checked out any of my content, one of the things that I do every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. GMT London time, is I have a live discussion. And I speak to all the fight fans I can possibly speak to about a whole list of subjects. And throughout the week, I give you guys the opportunity to ask me any questions. So the video I'm going to make today is going to kind of touch on one of the questions I've been asked to discuss on this weekend's live stream. And so whatever I touch on today, I'll be expanding on in a bit more detail in the course of that live stream. So please check it out. So the video I'm going to be doing here today is about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib Nurmagomedov, for those of you who don't know, has received his fine and suspension. He's been suspended for 9 months and received a $500,000 fine. Conor McGregor got 6 months and a $50,000 fine. Khabib's cornermen, Khabib and Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov, they both got 1 year fine, and I think they got $25,000 suspensions. Now, firstly, let's start with the external stuff. Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov, I think he probably shouldn't have been given a year because at the end of the day, Conor punched him first. He was on the cage. He shouldn't have been on the cage, but he got punched in the face, so I suppose he was going to respond. And on the back of that, the fine is probably unnecessary as well. But again, I suppose he did then jump into the cage, so the sport has to be seen to be doing something. Khabib, he absolutely deserved what he got. He absolutely deserved the 1 year fine. He probably, the 1 year suspension, he probably should have got fined a little bit more. He jumped into the cage, assaulted Conor McGregor, and then he boasted about it on Twitter, Instagram later. And I don't think that is representative, or that is how we as fans should want to be seeing the fight, the mixed martial arts being represented to casual fans. This was the biggest pay-per-view in the history of UFC. The biggest audience mixed martial arts have ever had. And what we definitely didn't need at that time was to be seeing a fight like that break out. And fans, I had so many people that don't watch MMA turning to me and saying, oh, is that normal? Does that happen in mixed martial arts often? And it's really an embarrassment to the sport. So all of this is shambolic, and I don't condone anyone's behaviour in this. Then you got Khabib Nurmagomedov. Actually, before I go into Khabib Nurmagomedov, let's talk about Conor. He got 6 months and a $50,000 fine. The $50,000 fine is probably fine. He got paid like $3 million, so it's a $50,000 fine is not really going to hurt Conor McGregor. 6 months suspension is probably correct, even though he did throw the first punch on Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov. The whole thing was sparked up from when Khabib jumped over the cage, and I think that's something that we've got to remember here. So I've seen a lot of people, and one of the reasons why I'm making this video is because on my way home from work, I was on the train and I was reading the MMA forums. Shout out to MMAfighting.com. And I was reading the discussion points, and I was reading the comments on the YouTube videos, and a lot of people were saying, well, why did Conor get so little if Khabib got so much? Well, at the end of the day, even though what Conor done was wrong, he wouldn't have done none of that if Khabib hadn't jumped over the cage. If Khabib hadn't ran over, jumped over the cage and started a fight, he wouldn't have gone up to the cage and clocked Abu Bakr. So I think that's got to be taken into context. So I think it's kind of fair. His punishment is fair. Then you got Khabib Nurmagomedov's punishment. Okay, I'm going to start off by saying a 9-month suspension. I know a lot of people are saying it's harsh. I don't think a 9-month suspension is that harsh. If they would have said a year, it would have been harsh. I probably would have thought 6 months is about correct. They've gone for 9 months, but Khabib's total said that he's not going to fight for a year anyway. He's not going to fight until Zabira and Abu Bakr can fight again. So he's put a 9-month suspension, a 1 year suspension on himself anyway. So yeah, so that's something to consider, and I'm going to expand on what that means in a bit more detail. But a $500,000 fine, I think that's a bit shambolic. So when you think about this, Brock Lesnar got fined $250,000 for testing positive for steroids in his fight with Mark Hunt. As much as I don't condone what Khabib did, as much as I hate what he done, and I'm embarrassed for the sport that he done that, at the end of the day, he was heated. He was emotionally charged over an emotionally charged fight, and he jumped over to get into a fight with a professional fighter. Okay, now Dylan Dallas is not a helpless victim. He's a professional fighter. Khabib should have done it, and it's bad. But I don't think that represents a $500,000 fine. That $500,000 fine, when Brock Lesnar got charged $250,000 for testing positive for steroids, is an embarrassment. $250,000 for steroids. Steroids, to me, is a worse slap in the face of the sport than what Khabib did. Now, Khabib shouldn't have done what he done, but to charge him double what Brock Lesnar got fined is embarrassing. On the back of that now, Khabib's come out and said that he won't fight again in Nevada and he won't fight again until November. So what does that mean? That means the lightweight division won't have had a title defended in 13 months by the time he comes back. In the wings, you have Tony Ferguson, probably the most deserving number one contender in all time of MMA, of UFC. There's no number one contender I can think of, and I've followed the sport since its inception. I watched videos of it since its inception. I was 3 years old in 1993, so yeah. But Tony Ferguson deserves a title shot. He has won 11 straight fights, won an interim title, never lost his interim title, then beat Tony Ferguson, then beat Anthony Pettis. He deserves a title shot. It is not fair that he don't get to fight for a title next. He has to get to fight for a title next. Dustin Poirier, in any other realm, if Tony Ferguson didn't exist, would have also earned a title shot. His body of work at lightweight is incredible. Other than his loss to Michael Johnson, I believe he's 8-1 in the lightweight division, coming off back-to-back wins over former world champions in Anthony Pettis and Eddie Alvarez. So he has looked incredible. I think the right thing to do here is to, and I'm not a fan of interim titles normally, but I think the right thing to do here is to introduce an interim title at £155 and make it Tony Ferguson versus Dustin Poirier for the interim title. Let them fight for the interim title, and then the winner of that will be set to defend their title or unify the division against Khabib Nurmagomedov when he comes back in November. And that fits in perfectly because UFC likes to do a Madison Square Garden New York card in November every year. That's when Khabib's saying he wants to come back November. He's saying he wants to fight in Madison Square Garden because he's saying he won't fight in Nevada no more. So I think that's the perfect, most logical solution, is to create an interim title, let the winner of that title unify the division against Khabib. That way both Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier get to fight for a belt, which they deserve. And in the meantime, Conor wants to fight someone. He wants to fight a top contender. Well, maybe he can handle his business with Nate Diaz. Maybe it's time for the trilogy. Nate Diaz doesn't seem to want to fight anyone else. He was going to fight Dustin Poirier until he pulled out, but then he didn't want to fight no more. So maybe it's the perfect time to do the trilogy fight. If Conor wins that fight, he can wait until the title's unified and go on to fight for the belt. If not, then he can fight someone else. Maybe he can fight Ali Aquinta. If Ali Aquinta can get another win, and then he could get 2 wins together before he gets to fight for a belt. Whatever he's going to do. Matter of fact, actually, Conor's talking about fighting Cowboy Cerrone. So if the Cowboy Cerrone fight plays out, then he fights the Cowboy Cerrone fight. I think that's a winnable fight for him. If he wins that, then maybe he handles his business with Nate Diaz after that. That should set him up for early 2020 fight with the winner of Khabib Nurmagomedov and whoever he unifies the division against. Those are my thoughts anyway, and I'm going to expand on that. Just a video that I wanted to make. And so I made it. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you think should happen and what your thoughts are on the fines, the suspensions and all the rest of it. Like I said, if this is the first time you checked out any of my content, please subscribe to my channel. Help me get the platform growing. Thank you guys. Mindful Combat.